Alright guys, on Saturday, Man City beat Wolves at Molineux by 3 goals to 0 in a fairly comfortable performance for Manchester City. They really didn't have much trouble at all. They took the lead within about 55 seconds through Jack Grealish. It was a brilliant worked goal by De Bruyne and Foden down the right hand side. Just a brilliant overlap by De Bruyne, brilliant cross as well. How many times can I say brilliant? And crosses it into the box for Jack Grealish, who gets a tap in, and that started what was a brilliant afternoon for Grealish back in the Midlands. He was playing in the midfield as opposed to the front three in this game, more so, and he looked a lot more suited to that role. In my opinion, I just thought it allowed him to pick up the ball from deeper and have more space to run into, whereas when he's playing on the left-hand side at the front three, he often picks up the ball by the touchline and is instantly up against a right back who can get tight to him and stop him from really going anywhere. And that's why a lot of the time we see Grealish try and take on a man in that position, and he either gets fouled or he loses the ball. And okay, maybe like 10% of the time he skips past a couple of players and gets across him, but I feel like that's partly why it hasn't worked for him as well so far at Manchester City. So I think if Pep's smart, he'll keep playing him in this midfield role, maybe push Bernardo Silva into one of the front three roles, because Bernardo Silva's that good, he can just play anywhere on the pitch. Whereas Grealish, I think, needs to be playing in that midfield role to get the best out of him. In fact, I know it worked for him at Aston Villa in the Premier League, playing in that front three on the left. But when he was in the Championship with Villa, I do remember some of his best performances being on the left-hand side of the midfield three, along with, who was it, John McGinn, and I'm tempted to say Conor Hourihane. But yeah, he looked a lot more confident. So Wolves then started to get a bit of possession in midfield with players like Ruben Neves, João Moutinho and Mateus Nunes, but still weren't really creating anything. And when they did create chances, Pedro Neto and Daniel Potence were very wasteful with them, as well as Goncalo Guedes. They're good players, but and on their day when they are clinical, they're good attacking players, but they just can't take chances at all consistently, and that is part of Wolves' big problem, because they were saying before the game that Wolves' defence is the best in the league so far this season. Obviously, it's not now after conceding three. On Saturday, but. The attack just really isn't clinical enough. That they get the possession, they're good in midfield, but they just haven't got the forward players who can score goals. Jimenez used to do that for them, but Jimenez obviously isn't the same player in the past couple of years as he was before that nasty head injury. And in players like Neto and Podence, they're threatening, but they never clinical enough. Never score more than 5 or 6 goals a season if you look back over the past few years, which is a real problem for Wolves if they are hoping to, get back into the Europa League places, which they were in not very many seasons ago. I think they got consecutive 7th place finishes in their first 2 seasons in the league. Last season they had a decent season and finished 10th, but it really tailed off towards the end of the season. It's a real problem for them. Erling Haaland, about 10 minutes later, did what Erling Haaland does, brings the ball. Well, it wasn't actually the most Erling Haaland goal, actually, come to think of it. He brought the ball forwards, ran at Max Kilman, got the shot off with his weaker right foot, and it went into the bottom corner, giving Jose Sarr in goal very little chance. But then after that, game done and dusted. Nathan Collins makes, I don't know if it was a decision purely out of, just anger and frustration, but ball over the top towards Grealish. It's sort of you'd expect Grealish to win the ball out of the two of them. He's closer to it. It's fallen quite nicely for him. And Collins, what you should do as a defender there is you just got to stand your man up and try and not let him get past you. You don't dive in when the ball's that high. It's at waist height. He doesn't make any real connection with the ball and ends up just sort of stabbing Grealish round the waist somewhere with the studs of his boot. So it was an absolute deserved red card, because I know there's obviously a lot of questioning when there's a decision over a red card to be made when a player is sort of gone studs up and foot's high in the air. Because sometimes it's like Sadio Mane on Ederson 4 or 5 years ago, when Mane really had no intention to kick Ederson. He probably didn't even know he was there. And but unfortunately, it's still dangerous, so it's still a red card in my opinion. This Collins can see where Grealish is. He's looking right at him as he does it. So a 100% red card, and I don't think Collins can really have any complaints with it, to be honest. Yeah, and then from that point on, there was absolutely no real chance that Wolves were getting back into the game. They had some possession and a couple of half chances, really, but they like never really troubled Man City. Man City looked in total control of the game, and they got a third in the second half. It wasn't too dissimilar from the first goal, but the only difference being that Foden was the goal scorer and Haaland was a bit more involved in the build-up. 1-2, and De Bruyne does what he did in the first half with the overlap, crosses it in, and Foden gets a very delicate touch and just sort of rolls it into the far bottom corner. Really good goal. And yeah, all three of Man City's goals were really well taken, as were the two in the week against Borussia Dortmund. And yeah, that they were top of the table for a short period before Tottenham and Arsenal managed to... I don't know if Tottenham have overtaken them, but they're on the same points. Arsenal yesterday, with their win against Brentford, went above them. But yeah, Man City are obviously going to be very much up there come the end of the season. So yeah, for Wolves, yeah, it's just not looking good enough attacking wise. They need to hope that Diego Costa comes in and has some sort of an impact, because with Jimenez not really looking at his best, and I think he's currently out injured anyway, and Sasa Kalajic, their £15 million deadline day signing, being injured for up until what's supposed to be like maybe January or February, so like until well after the World Cup anyway. That's a real problem for them, because at the moment, other than Diego Costa, who, it's going to take time for him to get going, I think, because the lack of football he's had over the past few years, certainly since leaving Chelsea. I know he had a bit of time at Atletico Madrid, but he hasn't really consistently played or like started 90-minute games for a long time. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he does, and the Wolves will be hoping he gets some goals 100%, because they definitely desperately need them. Man City, yeah, it was just a performance which you come to expect from Man City. They're efficient and dominant. That's what they are. And the defence, I know there was a lot of talk about during the game from the commentators of Manuel Akanji just slotting in seamlessly to this defence. I don't think he's yet to really be tested, because he played quite well against Dortmund, to be fair, but in the games prior to that, I don't think he's really been tested, because he played against Sevilla in the Champions League. Sevilla were poor. Wolves yesterday, on Saturday, really didn't offer much either. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does when he comes up against another top team. So yeah, I look forward to seeing that. But yeah, really good performance from Man City, and slightly worrying times for Wolves. I don't think they'll go down, but it's still not looking great for them.